Welcome to the FI Investors Podcast, helping you achieve financial independence through real estate investing, one episode at a time. We talk about personal finance, mindset, and real estate investing. Whether you're a rookie or looking to scale your portfolio, we're here to provide you with the tactics and actionable steps to achieve your goals. Here are your hosts, Diego Corzo and Ward Mahoney.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the FI Investors Podcast. Today we have an incredible guest, my good friend, mentor, and business partner, Victor Niño. He is going to be sharing his journey, not only as an investor and how he bought his first property at age of 19, because when I met him, I was 23 years old and I was telling him my goals of house hacking. And he was like, "Oh, you're 23, I bought my first house at 19, I can definitely help you out." And how it went from him being a realtor, that would be my first realtor here in Austin to buy my first house, but how then I transitioned to not being able to qualify for a home, and then he and I becoming business partners, he becoming my mentor as a realtor, and then building a team that sells $100 million in real estate every year. So we have built an incredible team, and in this podcast episode we also talk about how he went on his investment journey into building now new homes, and also we talk about the transition between us being in Keller Williams, getting to number one in our market center 4 years in a row, to then transitioning to this great opportunity of Realty of America, and why we transitioned, why we did that, and why other agents and top producers are coming into Realty of America with a great business opportunity, being able to create more income both actively and passively. And that is what's amazing about this opportunity. So come and learn all about Victor Niño, why we left Keller Williams, why we joined Realty of America, and his investment journey. So let's go. Welcome to the FI Investors Podcast. Victor Niño, how are you?
Doing amazing. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Victor, I know we have been through an incredible journey as business partners on the realtor side. You've been my mentor since since 2014, really. But I met you in 2013, and you were one of the reasons why I got my license. And I'm just going to share a little bit of how we got to know each other, and then we'll get into your story. That sound good?
Yes, sir. That sounds like a plan.
Okay, perfect. So, super interesting. So I had moved to Austin, Texas, and I moved to Austin, Texas in 2013, and I wanted to buy a property, but I didn't know how or where or anything yet. But I had gone to a salsa boat party that just happened that Victor Niño was the sponsor. I didn't meet him at that boat party, but I sent him a message after the weekend, since he was a sponsor, and I told him that I was looking for a realtor because I wanted to buy my first house hack. We met up for lunch. And and then afterwards, he started helping me. I told him, though, my situation of me being DACA, that I may or may not be able to buy a house yet. But with the lenders that we talked about, they said yes, that I would be able to. So we started looking at homes. Then we went under contract on a property. And 2 weeks before closing, the lender calls me and he says, "Diego, with your DACA documents at this time, we're not going to be able to give you the loan." And I was devastated. So I called Victor and I'm like, "Victor, look, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to cancel the contract because the lenders have told me that I cannot get a loan. I already checked in with other lenders and nothing." So the good news about this part, though, that even though we canceled the contract, Victor and I became good friends. And then throughout that process, I told him, "Victor, I feel bad that I wasted your time. I'm pretty good with technology. Let me see what I can do to help you on your realtor business." And basically, as we got to know each other, I also asked him if I could give him a ride on the weekends while he was doing his realtor work, which was showing homes, meeting with clients. I would be his driver basically, and to see if I wanted to become a realtor. Fast forward a couple of months, I get my license. Victor becomes my mentor, and for about a year and a couple of months, I began doing real estate as a realtor part time. In 2015, Victor calls me and he says, Diego, I am basically, I've done everything that I can do by myself. I need some help. I quit corporate America and I began working with Victor as basically his buyer's agent. I just did everything because I wanted to learn as much as I could. Fast forward to 2025 now, what started just the two of us and me being basically his admin, his right-hand man on the realtor side, now we're business partners, and now we have a real estate team with around 17 or 18 agents here in Austin, Texas. We sell over $100 million in real estate a year. We have an incredible team, and now we're also part of Realty of America. So it's been crazy how everything has flourished, how everything we've been able to grow together. So Victor, thank you very much as always for your mentorship, being a business partner, and everything we've been able to do. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Oh yeah, no, that's it's pretty interesting to hear this and kind of go back in memory lane and how things unfolded and so forth. And I'm really, really happy that we ended up crossing paths because if you think about it, had I not been a sponsor, had you not gone to that event, I mean, so many things that had to happen in a particular way for us to be able to be sitting here today as, co-founders of Realty of America and, growing our team, like you say, to, 17 other agents aside from us. And it's just been an incredible ride. I know about 7 of our agents are fairly new, and we still did, over 115 million last year, or just shy, actually, like $300,000 shy of 115 million. So it's been an incredible ride, and I'm, really happy to see how you have grown. Not just on the side as a agent, but your podcast and all the other stuff that you've done, because you've actually done a ton. So I'm really proud of you, and I'm really happy to come on here and see how I can be of help and guidance for other people and just share my story as well.
Yeah. So if we can take us back a little bit, because I know that let's talk really quick how you got started investing in real estate, like that journey, and then your transition as a realtor. Because one of the things that happened when I met you back in 2013, I basically was telling you what I wanted to do, which was buy a home, rent out the rooms, and get started that way. And I told you I'm 23 years old, or at that point, yeah, I was like, I'm 22, 23. This is what I want to do. And you're like, Diego, I bought my house when I was 19 or 21, right? Can you share a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I grew up in a small town. You go past Texas. When I was 17, my dad told me, hey, it's time for you to leave. And it's kind of interesting because when he told me I had to leave home, I remember having this thought in my mind that I was like, my God, what am I going to do to survive? I might end up under a bridge. I just really didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what was going to happen in the future, but I do remember that I was afraid. I remember I started working in Austin and started saving money to buy a car. I went to go test drive a car. I took it to my brother's house. I remember it was a white Mustang and it was awesome. My parents never had nice cars. So for me, it was going to be like the biggest accomplishment for me to be able to say like, oh my God, I bought a new car at such a young age. And I remember I was 19 at that time. And I went to go show the car to my brother. And get there and he's all like, hey, come into my office. Let me show you something. So he logs on and shows me, hey, if you buy this car, I still remember it was about $19,000 car. And he tells me, if you take very good care of this car and you give great maintenance and it looks amazing, 5 years from now, this car will probably be worth about $7,000. And he showed me, Kelly Blue Book, was something that was used way back then. I don't know if people still use that or not, but he showed me, he's like, look, a car that's 5 years old, this is how much it'll cost you, or how much you can buy one for. And then I was like, wow, it's like, you know what? I really don't care because I really want my new car. I was laser focused on making that a reality. And then he said, you know what? How much do you earn right now? And I was earning $880 a month, working full time. And I was going part time to school. And he said, so your car payment, tell me about your car payment. I was like, well, my car payment's only 375. And he's like, okay, and what about insurance? And then I was like, oh, insurance. So I call and it was going to be like 450. So if you do the math, he asked me, he's like, so are you planning to live in the car and not eating? Because you still gotta pay for gas. And then I was
Exactly.
like, wow. I said, you know what? You're right. I need to act my wage. So
Hmm.
I said, I can't buy this car. But he said this, he says, you can buy a house, rent out rooms, live for free. And then now the money you pay for your apartment, guess what? You can use it for another car. Not a new car like this one, but you can buy a different car. And I remember I got myself a little Civic, and I remember I was all proud of my little car and everything because it was the first one that I bought on my own. So it's interesting how sometimes we have certain goals or certain dreams that don't come to pass, but other things that are better end up coming into our life because we said no to a dream that we weren't ready to bring into our world. And in that
Yeah.
situation, I mean, I was just not ready. I
Yeah.
couldn't afford it. I probably would have gotten, maybe I would still be paying it off right now
Yeah.
at
For real. For real.
46.
And that car, so you said it was a Honda Civic?
So the first car I ended up buying was a Honda Civic, but the car I really wanted was a
Mhm.
white Mustang.
Mustang.
And
Exactly.
I'll tell you, every time I see a white Mustang that's like a 1998, 1999, I always think of the car that I never was able to buy. Until this
Okay.
day, that's an unfulfilled dream.
Oh man. What color was the Honda Civic?
The Honda Civic was gray.
Okay. Because my first car was a white Honda Civic. So
Oh, cool.
that's funny how that aligns
Yeah,
too.
and I remember I got a standard car because it was cheaper. And the good news is I already knew how to drive a standard car because the first car that I had, my brother Jesus actually gave it to me. So it was like my gift when I was a senior in high school. So that was pretty
Mm.
cool. And it's just kind of funny because I remember back then, the car, the odometer didn't work. The gas gauge didn't work. I didn't have a brake, so I would have to park it in gear so that it wouldn't roll away. My battery was real bad. I remember I used to park in a hill, so that way when I would leave, it would just the momentum, and I would pop the clutch so that it would turn on. So it was
Yeah.
a pretty interesting situation with that car. But hey, my brother gave it to me. That was better than taking the bus. So I was like super grateful. And I still remember some friends used to tease me about the car being in such a bad condition. But you know what? That was one of the reasons why I wanted to get a new car. And
Mhm.
again, you know what? I ended up getting a Civic. It was still pretty cool. Of course, it was not as awesome as the Mustang that I wanted to buy.
Yeah. Well, and now you drive an amazing red Ferrari. So,
I know, you know what? The other day I was driving and I see actually a Mustang, and it was white and it was from that era. And I took a picture and I have the steering wheel of the Ferrari in the car. And I was gonna post it and I was like, man, some dreams just never come true and we just gotta be okay with it, you know? Yeah, I
man,
haven't posted it. Maybe one of these days I'll do it.
that's funny. Okay, so then so you ended up buying that property. And how old were you when you bought that your first property?
So I was 19 years old when I bought my first property. I still remember I celebrated my 20th birthday like a month and a half after I bought it.
My gosh, man. And then you basically, from what you told me, right, you basically used the same owner occupant loan programs and you were able to buy your next one and your next one and your next one and your next one. And even some properties back then, you bought it because you were a realtor. You also paid, basically, you use your commission to help you pay for it.
Exactly. So on this, backtracking to that house that I bought, like I mentioned, I was making $880 a month. So I didn't qualify on my own. I spoke with my other brother, Jesus, and I said, hey, can you co-sign for me? I'm going to put all the money down. I'm going to be responsible for everything, taxes, insurance, you name it. It's going to be my house. But if you co-sign for me, then I can buy it. And he says, yeah, I'll co-sign for you. I'm not thinking about buying a house anytime soon. So he co-signed for me. And I had him on there probably for a few years. And then I
Mhm.
refinanced once I started making a little bit more money, and I just put it in my name. But think about it. Sometimes people make a decision of a cosigner for a car. But this was something that was worth it. And Austin, I mean, buy
Mhm.
the domain in North Austin for $80,000 a house. It was just, of course, back in the day, I didn't see it as oh, wow, it's an amazing price. But with time, I mean, my God, I ended up selling that house for $400,000 and invested in something else.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now you have how many homes and because you also built some new builds in Eagle Pass, correct?
So I have 14 doors. And
Hmm.
on this, I was at a point where I was like at 19 homes or 19 doors. And it was just a little too much for me to manage
Hmm.
all of them. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sell a few and I'm going to go ahead and condense so that way I can go ahead and give a big down payment, not have a payment be as high, but then I have more profit from less properties. So it was just kind of like a way for me not to be overwhelmed. As you know, 8 years ago, I got married. Now I have two kids. So things are different. Of
Hmm.
course, when we're young and single, we have all the time in the world. And the funny thing is that most single people don't even know that they have all this extra time because they're just not pressed like you are when you are a parent, right? So
Hmm.
then I started tweaking some things. We ended up building some properties or some units, and we actually did it during COVID. So as you remember, we can all remember the days when, back in COVID, where in the news, it's like they're showing all these things that are happening. So many people are getting sick. So many people are dying. It's just a big old mess around the world. So after maybe like 3 weeks of this, I tell my wife, I was like, you know what? Turn off the TV. I don't want to hear anything about COVID. I don't want to listen to the news, nothing. We're going to go shopping. And my wife likes shopping. So she says, but where are we going to go? Everything's closed. I said, where we're shopping, we don't need a store to be open. So then we started looking for land, and I ended up picking up a property because Lupe, who's now in our team as an agent, he owned a property in Eagle Pass right by a casino. So one day I'm driving to the casino and I think of Lupe and I call him. I'm like, hey, where's your duplex? I want to see it. So I drove by there. And when I drove by there, maybe 5 lots away, there was a sign that was kind of like tipped over. You couldn't really see it. And it was for sale. So I get off and I'm like moving things around so I could see the picture of the agent. I call the agent and I end up buying the property. I bought it at a discount. Again, be, aggressive, take action when people are fearful. Why? Because when people are fearful, prices are low. And when things are bad, that's when you should buy. And the interesting thing is that when things are bad, people will be like, no, I don't want to buy at a discount. Let me wait for prices to go up. And so it's kind of interesting. So we ended up getting such a good deal. The builder was not getting a lot of business because of everything that was happening with the pandemic. So I ended up doing an agreement with the guy to build for $95 a square foot with appliances included. That was just amazing. And we ended up building the first home that I sold. I ended up selling it for like $400,000. Took all that money, and then my wife and I invested everything into this property that we have, and those are 11 units, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So then so you use the money, of course, that you bought, you use the money from the properties that you sold, and that is more on the investment journey. But then on the realtor journey, share a little bit about how because I know that you also had, when I met you, you had just become a realtor full time. So share a
Mhm.
little bit on that journey too, because here's one of the cool things about real estate is that you can make money passively, as Victor just shared, through investment properties, doing the house hacking, selling the property and put it into another project. But there you can also make money actively, and that is one of the things that Victor and I do. So Victor, yeah, share a little bit on that realtor journey.
So on this, keep in mind, the people that were around me when I bought my first house at 19, we all worked together. I remember I kept hearing, don't do it, don't buy it. It's gonna anchor you down for 30 years. You're too young. What if you end up getting a job somewhere else and this is just gonna weigh you down? But I decided to go against the grain and do something different. At 23, I bought my first duplex. After that, I'm picking up a check at my brother's office because he was already a realtor. And I have a casual conversation with the broker. He tells me, Victor, you know what? I've been doing this for over 25 years. I think it'd be an amazing agent. I ended up getting my license. So I was 25 when I got my license. So about 2 years after, I ended up buying that duplex, right? And the good news is this: people saw me as a person that was very responsible. People saw me as a person that could be reliable. So guess what? People started calling me and saying, "Hey, I want to buy a property," because again, who we are before we become an agent affects whether or not people are going to want to work with us. So then
Mm,
the only thing that I wish I would have done different is that when I got my real estate license, I stayed as a part-time agent. I had a full-time job at an insurance company, and I was at Progressive Insurance for a long time. I was there for 14 years. So in 2013, I left the business of insurance. And in reality, it's not the business because, yeah, it was someone else's business. I was just an employee there, right? And I still remember it was January 4th, 2013, the day I left. Why did I leave that day? Because I got hired on January 4th of 1999. So that's when I started there. And I always remember, I'm like, my God, I gave 14 of my best years to a company. I said, I'm going to go ahead and give the rest of the years to myself and to my future self, my future family, and so forth. And that's, I started working part-time as an insurance, I'm sorry, part-time as a realtor, and I was working full-time as an insurance agent. As the years progressed, I started working less and less hours as an insurance agent, making more time for real estate. And in 2013, that's when I left. And you started working with me in 15, right?
full
Yeah,
time in 2015.
in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
crazy, which is crazy. I remember when I quit my job at General Motors, it was August 31st, 2015,
Mhm.
and September, you and well, like me working with you, I made $900. And I was like, did I do the right thing? And
Correction. We made $900, so we split it.
yeah,
No, we split it 70/30
yes, yes. So we
because that
split
was
it
our
in.
agreement.
Yes, exactly. So I made even less, but it was one of those things of like, okay, this is just the start. This is the first month. The future ahead
Yeah.
hopefully looks bright. So,
Yeah, but I still remember because the reason why it was so low because there were like three deals that were pushed to the next month, and I remember the
mhm.
next month we ended up making like $72,000 in 1 month, and then you're
Yeah,
like, oh, I kind of like this a little better than the 400 bucks I made.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So it was like I knew where it was going, but it was still like, oh my gosh, I made very little leaving corporate America. Uh, and then okay, so when I met you. You were, and when we started working together, we were at Keller Williams.
Mhm,
And in the beginning, I remembered that when I joined the team, we basically by January of the next year in 2016, in 2015, the Niño team back then was like number 11 or number 7, I remember. And then, yeah, and then it wasn't until like then every year that we worked together, it kept on increasing, on increasing, on increasing to the point that we went from 7 to 3 to number 2 to number 1, and we were number 1 basically 4 years in a row, right? Being part of Keller Williams and in our office that had around 500 agents,
uh-huh,
and that was an incredible journey. But here, really quick, I remember that when we partnered up, we it was because you wanted to leverage, and this is something that I share with a lot of people, is that there is 4 ways of unfair advantage, right? That you can leverage people. It's either their time, their money, their knowledge slash experience, or their network.
mhm,
So Victor already had many years of experience, and he had a network here in Austin, and he had that capability. When I partnered up with him, one of the reasons was because like I had a lot of time and I had no knowledge and no network because I had just moved to Austin. So
Mhm.
for me, I saw it as a great partnership because of what I could learn. It was
Mhm.
more of not much as how much I could earn. It was more about what I could learn. So then, Victor, so then we partner up and just continue sharing a little bit about the story of how we grew, and then into 2020.
Well, on this, regarding the growth, on the team, just so your audience here hears a little bit about prior to you coming on to the team, is that I gave this opportunity to 10 other individuals, yet everybody else had more um, excuses than actions. And I still
Mhm.
remember I would, purposefully give you extra work to see if you would quit, and you wouldn't quit. And I was like, dude, this guy, I was like, man, he doesn't come up with a story, he comes up with solutions. And for the first time, I was like, man, this guy reminds me of me when I was younger. And it's so interesting because you said the same thing about Andres when
Mhm.
he approached you, right? So it's kind of interesting that, at in life, people get opportunities and some of them do not make the best of it, because frankly, had somebody else made the best of it, maybe I would have never gotten into this agreement with you, right? So
Mhm.
that you would come on and so forth. And on this, what I would say is that once we started working together, once you started learning the way to do business, how to work by referral and so forth, I still remember you started getting busy, and that's when we said, hey, let's go ahead and hire someone that will allow you to buy your time back, so that
Mhm.
way you can also get business. But frankly, the initial thing and the initial reason why I wanted to get somebody to help me out was so that I can go ahead and leverage the work that is just busy work that doesn't generate any income. And I'll tell you this, I think that's the biggest hurdle that people have, not just in real estate as an agent, but in business. Because if you think you're the only one that could do the work at a certain level, well, guess what? You will always be a slave to those positions. And if you are working on those positions, then you can't scale the company. You can't grow. You can't innovate. You can't do a lot of other stuff. You can't go lead generate as much. So once you came into the picture, I basically left all the busy work to you. So you did
Mhm.
all the paperwork, you did everything, loading up listings on MLS and so forth. But that freed me to go and get more business, which I had already been established. I already had a good book of business, and that just allowed me to focus on that. And I'll tell you this, when somebody is on the come up, go find a busy person that's successful, and go find ways that you can be of help to them so that you can save them time. Because if you save them time and you add value to their world, the right person will reward you. Unfortunately, there'll be some people that'll just take advantage of you, but it goes both ways, right? Because guess what? The person that's super busy sometimes will delegate, the other individual doesn't follow through, and ends up causing a lot of issues for this person's business. The opposite of that is, of course, this person just takes advantage of this individual that is just looking to help. But just know this, if you're going there to learn, doesn't matter how much you're going to get paid. What matters is what you're going to learn, because once you have those skills, once you have that knowledge, you can take that with you wherever you go.
Exactly. Exactly. Now you mentioned something that happened in 2020 was so I was featured on the Bigger Pockets podcast,
Mhm.
sharing my story as an investor and talked about the realtor business. And that was when Andres Bustamante, he reached out to me and we met up for lunch.
Mhm.
And I told him, wow, you're just like me at the age of 22 or 2023. And he was going to join a team. He was looking to join a team. And that's when I reached out to you, Victor. And I was like, I just met this kid. Like, he's just like me, just 6 years younger, just like when I met you. We need to hear, you need to meet with him so that if possible we can start creating a team.
Mhm.
And that's basically what ended up happening. And it was incredible because as we began to grow the team, Now, as I mentioned, we grew it with amazing people. Everybody are go-getters. They're helping. Their main focus is to help the families that become their clients, right? And be able to help them, but take them through the buying process, the selling process, everything. And now, us being able to reach a level where we became number one at Keller Williams in our previous company, then we transitioned into Realty of America, which is the company that I'm super proud of what we've been able to do in the, I guess it would be like 120 days since we launched, because we launched in September of last year, and we're recording this in January. So share a little bit about that transition, about like why Realty of America, and what we're doing now as we're helping thousands of agents now all over the US.
Well, I'll tell you this, I think in life, like I mentioned earlier, we all have opportunities, and sometimes we take them, other times we let them go. And I'm a firm believer that opportunity is a sexy goddess that waits for nobody. And the thing is this, it'll come to you. And if you just brush it off, don't pay attention, you're too busy, whatever the case may be, well, guess what? Somebody else is going to pick it up. Doesn't mean it disappears for everyone, it just disappears out of your life, and it could be a blessing that's coming to you. And frankly, when I had a conversation with our CEO, Eddie, um, it made me think. I said, right now, nobody's coming to me letting me know that I have an opportunity that could change the future of my family, that can bring me generational wealth. And once I started thinking about it, I was like, my God, it would be silly for me not to take advantage of this opportunity. You know what they say about your tribe? Who do you spend time with? Affects what level you will reach in your life, not just economically speaking, but health, the way you are, everything gets affected. So I said, when it comes to finances, I started thinking, if I am spending time with Eddie, if I'm spending time with Mark Dimas, both of them, I mean, I didn't know a lot of information, but just from what I could gauge, I was like, you know what? I have a few mil, but these guys have probably like 10 times as much as I do. So guess what? I will go ahead and align myself with people that are playing at a higher level, and it'll eventually just, allow me to level up as well. So, on this, we had this opportunity to start this. I remember, it took maybe like a month and a half for me to talk to you about it. And this is something that, I wanted to make sure that you were part of, because the reason why I was approached is because we were doing around 100 million a year. And guess what? Had we not teamed up, we wouldn't have gotten there, right? So then my thought process was like, hey, you know what? This opportunity came to me, but I'm going to go ahead and honor the relationship that I have with you, so that way you could be part of it as well. And my God, we launched the company, and two of the other big revenue share companies in our space at real estate took 6 years to get to 1,000 agents. On day one, we shattered that. Day one of the company. And that's just incredible, right? And the other thing is this, right now, fast forwarding to the third check that I've gotten from revenue share, it is 3 times, actually more than 3 times what I earn from my investments in those duplexes that we built. So we have 11 units. So just think about it. We spend over $110,000 to build those, and those generate about $4,000 a month. Okay. So it's a good return, right? I mean, you end up spending 410,000, 420,000, and you end up getting 4,000 a month. That's pretty nice, right? So the cool thing about that is that it's passive. You don't have to actively go work and trade your time for money, because guess what? You make the investment once, and then it usually just works on its own. Of course, there's vacancies, there's little things here and there, but for the most part, you're not actively working 40, 50 hours a week for it, right? So then, looking back, I'm like, wow. So I made a decision to come over to Realty of America, a company led by super top producers. And when I say top producers, I'm not saying, hey, we sell 20 homes a year. That is not a top producer. I know in some areas it's considered, and I hope nobody gets offended when they hear 20 is not a top producer, but it's really not, right? So on this, I'm talking about individuals selling over 100 homes right? That's the kind of leadership that we have from individuals that are leading here at Realty of America. So on day one, we shattered records with over 1,000 agents. Right now, we are in multiple states already, and it's just growing so organically. We are not cold calling individuals. All the recruiting is done because we have relationships with those individuals. And we want to make sure that we honor each individual person that we're reaching out to. So that way we have a meeting with them to see if they can notice the upside that we notice in coming into this company, right? So as I'm looking at that information, I'm like, oh my God, at the rate we're going, I'm going to be doing 10 times as much, right, as what I'm getting after making an investment of over $400,000 with a property. So it's just a no-brainer. I mean, everybody that's a real estate agent that is out there and doesn't have the ability to earn money from the people that they bring into the business to that company, guess what? You're leaving a lot of money on the table. It's unfortunate that for some people, they just can't get past the fact that there's other ways to earn income. And hey, you know what? Some people, again, will take advantage of the opportunity. Others, it'll just go ahead and fly by them. And unfortunately, they'll never be blessed by a better system that allows them to partake in ownership with the company instead of just having a tenant landlord relationship with their broker.
And what you say by tenant landlord relationship is basically the fact that when you join Realty of America as an agent, you become part owner of the company because you get paid. You get paid in multiple ways. You get compensated in multiple ways. Number one, it is a revenue share company, so you get money. You make some money as you're attracting agents into the company, and that most of the times happens naturally, organically. Just as you're a top performer, other top performer wants to be surrounded by top performers, right? Or when you're a top performer, other people want to be like you, so other people are going to reach out and be like, "Hey, Diego, you seem like you're doing well. Can you give me one or two tips? I would love to implement that into my business." So you can attract people like that into this opportunity, and you can make some revenue share money. Number two, as you're capping, as you cap, sorry, and as you hit different milestones, you also make what they call is RSUs, which is technically stock of the company.
Yes.
And then Victor, there's so we have the RSUs, we have the revenue share, and then of course we have you making more money as a realtor as well. And we are on a $14,000 cap, 85-15 split. And I'll tell you this, Victor, for me, it was an incredible opportunity because, of course, we were part of Keller Williams, but throughout those 10 years, I had so many people reach out from different other revenue share companies, whether it was EXP, Real, whatever, right? And I would always say, good, that seems like an opportunity, but I never saw the vision that I could see now when I got approached about joining Realty of America. Like I saw the vision and the leadership and the top producers that are really attracting other top producers. For me, that was like the one of the main reasons why I said yes. And also seeing that the whole team was also saying, yes, let's do it. We see the vision. It's one of those things that I'm really excited for what is to come as we continue to grow the company together under the leadership, of course, of Eddie Garcia, Mark Dimas, and shout out to all the other anchor founding partners in different states, whether it's Chicago, California, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Kansas, and we got the privilege to be approached to be the anchor partners for the state of Texas. So this was also an incredible opportunity that looking back, I know that it's going to be one heck of a ride.
Yeah, and the thing is this, I mean, there's a big upside in being part of it within the first year. I mean, think about had we been involved at Keller Williams back in 1983, had we been involved at EXP in 2009, had we gotten involved with Real Brokers in 2014, well, guess what? those ships have sailed when it comes to starting at the start, at the beginning. So having this opportunity was just really a no-brainer. Now, yes, it took a lot of time, energy, and effort. I mean, you and I have worked countless hours, flown numerous times all over the country to get stuff done. But once we launched, of course, it still was pretty intense, but now things are, we're hitting our stride.
Mhm.
And you know what? With all the stuff that we had to do within the first 4 months and prior to launching to the workload we have today, my God, we're just gonna go ahead and blow past 5,000 agents to 10, 20,000. It's going to be incredible. I'm just like super excited. And the best thing about this is knowing that the people that we're bringing into this company are also able to earn more by learning from top producers and also being able to scale their retirement. Because at the end of the day, think about it. You can have money in a market money account, in a money market account. You can have money in the bank. You can have money in a 401k, stocks, you name it. But the thing is this, with this, it doesn't cost you anything other than having conversations with a few of agents that you know, and then them doing the exact same thing. So on this, I mean, the upside is just incredible.
Exactly, exactly. That's why for me it was one of those things that I see the potential, I see the future of this. And even though, as I mentioned earlier, I've been approached by other companies, it was more the vision, the team, the leadership that I said I want into this opportunity. And my hopes is that we continue to grow this together into as we expand into multiple states. I know that right now we're around like 8 or 10 states, and soon to be Nevada, Florida, different states. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. Now, Victor, as we go into 2025, right? One of the key things as an agent in them becoming a better agent, of course, it's about the training, as we mentioned, and surrounding yourself with people that are wanting to achieve a higher level, right? And that's why with our team, that's one of those things that we've been able to do. But now, as Realty of America continues to grow, remember that I always remind people that the importance of the training from the top producers that is going to be that is being created, right? Them sharing their lessons and everything, so that then the agents can implement it into their business and have the accountability to be able to make it happen. So that's one of those things that is really important, and we've seen it how it works in our team, because our
Yeah.
team now has 3 millionaires, excluding us, right? If we count us, it'll be five. But within our team, we have 3 millionaires and more to come.
Yeah.
And in me talking with the other agents, there is one guy has 22 years old, and he's like, I'm gonna be the next millionaire of of this group, right? And at the end of the day is becoming, and like Jim Rohn says, you are the average of the five people you surround yourself with, and this is what we're doing with Realty of America. And that's one of those things that no matter where you go, you can be successful, but the main thing is how quickly can you do that? Because the thing that shrinks that gap between where you are now and where you want to be, a lot of it has to do with the people that you surround yourself with, because they level up the norm. They set a new average on the team and on with other agents. So no matter what company you're with or no matter what, remember that the main thing that changes is your environment, the people that you're learning from, that you're surrounding yourself with. So always keep that in mind, especially for the realtors that are hearing this podcast, and also if for the realtors that are the investors, for example, or the audience here that wants to become a realtor and do this. It's something that can be very that if done right, if done well, it can have a really good future for you. So
Oh yeah.
that's what I would say there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we're going to continue to pour into the agents and making sure that we're there to help them and guide them and give them tips on what's worked for us, so that way
Mhm.
they can go ahead and make their goals a reality. And that's really what it's about, paying it forward. Because if we are honest and we look back in our life, there's always people that pour into us. And this
Mhm.
is a great way to honor the people that have poured into us by paying it forward and helping
Exactly.
others.
Exactly. And that's when I'm a big believer too. If like the reason why this is called the FI Investors Podcast is because I'm a big believer of becoming that financial independent investor, right? And that can come from different ways of passive income, whether it can be real estate, other ways, but also the revenue share that one gets at companies like this at Realty of America. So it just continues to create and expand that wheel. So so Victor, where to wrap this up, where is somewhere that people can reach out to you if they have questions? How can they connect?
On IG, Realtor Nino.
Realtor
At
Niño
Realtor Nino. Yes, sir.
at Realtor Niño. Awesome, awesome. And then, so if they have questions, they can send you a DM. They can send me a DM if they have questions on Realty of America, or also if they want to build something in Eagle Pass, they can also reach out to you, Victor, and get some of the resources. So
Yeah, the tips on who could build, and Eagle Pass is actually growing quite a bit. Like I mentioned, there's a casino there. So yeah, if people have questions about building out there in the border in South Texas, then feel free to reach out.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Victor. Thank you for joining us. I know it's been a crazy 10 years of working together and, of course, seeing all the growth. And now in this transition with Realty of America, my hopes is that we continue to help so many agents, whether they want to start their career as a realtor or if they're top producers and want to take it up another notch. I mean, for us to sell 100 million, and this year, you told me that the goal can be actually like 200 million, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. This
Yeah.
year, after having a conversation with all the team members, we're gonna hit over 200 million.
Yes.
And the thing is just having a vivid picture of what we want, having a list of things that are actionable that we need to execute, and then we get there. So on that, if you're an agent that just wants to scale, maybe you want to go from 20 sales to 50, or you want to go from 40 to 70 deals, we can share what's worked for us, so that way you can go ahead and create the business that you want to have, so that way you can enjoy life at the level that you want to enjoy it, which is pretty awesome.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Victor. We appreciate your time and look having you in the future again.
All right. Thank you, Diego. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the FI Investors Podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And share this with a fellow real estate investor who you think would find value in what we do. Until next time.